today about chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the North American Free Trade Agreement. So before talking about the specific chapters, we want to give you a general context of the economic environment of Mexico at the time of the signing. And so today we all know that Mexico has one of the most open trade policies in the world, but it wasn't always like this. So its attempts to start becoming a more liberalized economy started around the 80s, but it had like a tangible success in 1992 when they signed with NAFTA with the United States of America and Canada. In 1994, with its entry into force, Mexico became a part of the largest single market in the world, and this helped the growing of the Mexican economy. It created more jobs, and it helped develop many sectors in Mexico. This, however, has had a negative impact on the part that we have been so dependent on the United States economy, and as we have seen, this is not always a good thing. So from 1994 on, we have been signing different free trade agreements in order to decrease this dependence on the United States.
So we're going to talk about chapter 1, that it talks about the objectives of the NAFTA. So the first one is to eliminate barriers to trade in and facilitate the cross-border movement of goods and services between the territories of the parties, which we already know that are Canada, United States, and Mexico. And then we have to promote conditions of fair competition in the free trade area, so no monopolies. Then we have to increase substantially investment opportunities in the territories of the parties, like it has happened to Mexico. Many foreign direct investments from the United States and Canada has come to the country. Then we have to provide adequate and effective protection and enforcement of intellectual property rights in each party's territory. From the three parties, the one that has more intellectual property investment is the United States. And then we have to create effective procedures for the implementation and application of this agreement, for its joint administration and for the resolution of disputes. This is in chapter 3. And then we have to establish a framework for further trilateral, regional, and multilateral cooperation to expand and enhance the benefits of this agreement.
We are going to protect American industry. We are going to protect the American worker. No longer will we allow other countries to close our factories, steal our jobs, and drain our wealth. We are building our future with American hands, American labor, American iron, aluminum, and steel.
Okay, so chapter 2 talks about the general definitions of the treaty, and although it's a very obvious thing that may seem unimportant, it's actually very important because chapter 2 ensures that there is mutual understanding between the members. It creates a mark scheme that defines what are the limits and the extent of NAFTA, and it creates safeguard measures to prevent misunderstanding, to prevent the members from taking unfair advantages, and it gives meaning to sensible terms, as well as it prevents unfair practices from happening. And it creates a backup so members can have certain arguments to talk about when they have disputes. It also makes it inflexible to changes of the time. And so I'm going to explain some of the definitions that are included. Some are very simple, like I say, like dates, calendar days. It includes only like all the days, not only weekdays or weekends. And it also talks about territory, which is important because it defines the extent of the treaty. Like, for example, Puerto Rico, which is not a normal state of the United States, is included. Some explanations like that are necessary so the treaty can function properly. And it also explains that persons are natural persons, and it also includes companies. And it's important because at the time these definitions weren't as understood as properly as today, so they are kind of important. It also explains very particular terms such as commission, which means the Free Trade Commission established in Article 2001, which is like very particular to this treaty.
chapter, we're going to talk about this chapter number 3, which is basically the first chapter of the part 2 of this treaty, and it's called National Treatment and Market Access for Goods. This chapter practically tries to fulfill the objective A of the Article 102 of this treaty, which tells us that the main objective is to eliminate barriers to trade and facilitate the cross-border movements of goods and services between the territories of the countries that are members of NAFTA. This chapter is divided in 5 sections, which is Section A that talks about national treatment, Section B that talks about tariffs, Section C that talks about non-tariff measures, Section D talks about consultations, and Section E talks about definitions. Basically, this whole chapter is oriented to try to eliminate and to prohibit the creation of new barriers that could affect the trade between these 3 countries.
Okay, so what now? These 3 chapters were the introduction to the treaty. It gives us a general understanding of what the treaty is about, what are its main objectives, and what it wants to accomplish. Though the chapter 1, it's common ground of interest between the 3 parties, and it constitutes the reason of existence. Chapter 2, we define the general definitions that basically they are concepts that nowadays, for us, we understand, but back then they were new concepts given that the world was closed off. It was a more protectionist market and there were a lot of tariffs, so that's why chapter 2 is really important. And chapter 3, again, it's the part of the second part of the treaty, and it focuses in the elimination of tariffs. So this helps us understand what aspects need to be changed so the objectives that are established in chapter 1 can function and be accomplished. And well, also that this treaty has impacted not only the economic aspects in trade liberalization, but also it has affected us in the social and cultural aspects. So that's all.